Hello and welcome to the Mid-Range Jimbo Show. I'm Austin.
And I'm Michael. And if you'd like to hear about basketball content, well, stay tuned because we're going to talk about our early season Defensive Player of the Year race. First, we have Anthony Davis, which in my hot takes video, he was my prediction for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think that's too hot of a take, but right now I would say he's leading.
I very
And
much believe so. He's really just, like we've always talked about, he's with him on the court, your defense is so much better. It's
mhm,
absurd how much better the Lakers are with
yeah,
him on the floor defensively.
and something that I put up here is opponent's effective field goal percentage is 5 points worse when he is on the court. That's not even like if Anthony Davis is the one defending the shot. That's just having him on the court. So with him defending the shot, it's probably much higher. I could not find those stats anywhere, but I mean, just watching him play is just. I mean, he looks like a beast out there, and you can just tell that from his defensive rating. Like people aren't scoring on him.
No, he's always been that way because one of the biggest things AD can do is he can not only defend the rim, defend the post.
Mhm.
He can do switches all day.
Yeah.
He can defend perimeter players very
Mhm.
well. I mean, in the finals, he was like I can't remember what game it was, but he was guarding Jimmy Butler. He
Yeah.
wanted to do that too. He was like,
Yeah.
"Let me do this."
And something that I saw, and I've seen this before, is I just saw last year's stats for defending people at certain distances from the rim, um, and comparing Anthony Davis to Giannis was better at defending the rim, but Anthony Davis was I think 3 or 4 points better from deep mid range and from three than Giannis was. And I would imagine it's the same again this year just because Anthony Davis is mobile.
Right, and I feel like that one of the biggest things for that is that the Bucks defense was always centered around funneling guys into the
Hmm.
lane for contested layups. So
Yeah.
that's probably where a lot of that comes from for Giannis having a much better, holding players way lower at the rim than
Yeah.
AD did, simply because that's what the defense for the Bucks did
Hmm.
as opposed to the Lakers defense.
And even though we're supposed to be talking about Anthony Davis, another thing about the Bucks and Giannis is whenever Brooke or Robin Lopez were on the floor, they would try and funnel them into one of those two
Yep.
guys. And it just seemed like Giannis wasn't always the guy at the rim, which that's not always the case with Anthony Davis either. But like Anthony Davis is, if he's guarding the guy, I mean, he's gonna put up his best contest he can. Or if he's in the help side, like he's a good help side
Oh,
defender.
very, very much so. It's just AD just his instincts are
Hmm.
impeccable when it
Yeah,
comes to defense, honestly, and that's what everyone knew about him coming out of college.
yeah.
Same with, unfortunately, it didn't work out for him, but Michael Gilchrist, that was
Hmm.
another big thing, was that both of them were highly touted defenders who had potential on the offensive
Hmm.
side of the ball. AD just developed that potential a lot more.
Well, that and I feel like it's easier to stay in the NBA as a defensive big man rather than a defensive forward.
Yeah, that's very true. The long gone are the days of guys like Tony Allen who just
Yeah,
played defense for the whole time he was on the floor.
yeah. And next, we have Bam Adebayo. And speaking of good defensive instincts with Anthony Davis, Bam, same thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, you could argue that Bam is having a better defensive season than Anthony Davis. The numbers are very similar. The only thing I think is different for Bam Adebayo and why his defensive rating and his opponent effective field goal percentage looks better is when Bam Adebayo is off the court for the Miami Heat. Most likely, Jimmy Butler is not playing, which would affect his defensive rating. And then the Heat don't have another defensive big man to go out there when Bam's not on the court, which would affect the effective field goal
Yeah,
percentage.
definitely. That I mean, their defense is really just all about Bam and Jimmy. Because
Hmm.
other than those two, I mean, of course you have Andre Iguodala, who's a good
Hmm.
defender as well,
Yeah.
but he's kind of getting older now.
Yeah.
Without, I'll say those three because I want to give Iggy his credit; he deserves it.
Hmm.
Without those three, that team is probably like a bottom
Yeah.
5 to 10 defense in the whole NBA.
Because, I mean, Duncan Robinson can't defend anybody.
No, he's probably the worst on-ball defender I've ever watched play
Yeah.
basketball.
Tyler Hero, I feel like he doesn't spend the energy on defense. He
Yeah.
saves it for the offensive side of the court. I'm not saying that he's a bad defender. I just don't think he tries hard
No,
enough.
I don't believe he does.
And Goran Dragic, I mean, he's smart. He's not good, but
He's a smart defender,
Yeah.
a team defender type guy.
Yeah, you say that. Well, I feel like smart defender or team defender is always thrown out for guys that like, they just kind of try hard, but they aren't very good at it.
Right.
Like you see that with like Steph Curry, he's a
Yeah.
good team
Yep.
defender, or
Yep.
like JJ Redick.
Yep.
But I mean, he kind of is. I mean, with
Kendrick Nunn.
Kendrick Nunn. I mean, he's athletic, so all he has to do is try a little bit, and
Yeah. And I mean, he hasn't even been playing this year,
yeah,
hardly at all.
oh god, I can't even think of anybody off the end of their bench. Do they still have Solomon Hill? I haven't
No, he's
watched
in
him.
Atlanta now.
Yeah,
Apollo or whatever his name is, KZ Apollo.
yeah. I mean, I know he's athletic.
Yeah. And I mean, for like you think about their big men too, like
Mhm.
Olenek and Myers Leonard.
Mhm.
I mean, if you get one of those guys on a switch, that's points all day for you.
Yeah.
Like that's easy buckets.
Yeah, but I mean, just from what I've seen from Bam, I mean, he's good defensively.
Oh,
We knew this.
100%.
And after last season, everybody knew that he had Defensive Player of the Year potential.
Yep.
And I think he's showing it this year. I don't know if he'll win it or not. I think as the season goes on, it'll become a little more clear. I think it's too early, really, to call it.
Yeah, definitely. It's an open race, but I think AD is definitely the front runner for it.
And next we have Rudy Gobert, which we kind of had him as number one just when we were talking about this. But something that made us change that is Rudy Gobert's stats just really aren't all that good when looking into it. And the
Yeah.
past couple games that he had, like
Jared Allen talking to
Yeah.
Towns, Julius Randle did too,
yeah,
and he's. I know there's that whole thing going on with like Shaq and Gobert talking like the. I don't want to call it beef because I don't think Gobert cares that much, but
yeah,
Shaq, kind of calling him out or whatever. Shaq does that with a lot of big men though.
yeah. I feel like Shaq just needs to, stay quiet sometimes because he always tries to start stuff with the modern players, and it's like Shaq. I mean, yeah, he could exist in the modern NBA.
Oh, he could.
Up until maybe his like 12th season. Then he was just too heavy. He
Oh,
wouldn't be
yeah.
able to keep up.
No, not at all. Like if we're talking Orlando Shaq, he could definitely
Yeah.
could play switches very well. I think for sure because he was a lot more mobile back in
Yeah,
those
because
days.
I mean, you'd see him grabbing rebounds and taking it up the court
Yeah,
like we see
exactly.
modern big men doing. But Rudy Gobert, I still believe, is probably the best rim protector in the league. I actually saw this saying that people voted him as the best rim protector
Yeah.
in the league.
I do believe that rim protection is important, and Rudy Gobert is the best at it. But if you're taking into account defense everywhere on the floor, he just gets outshined by other players. Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at the stats, like 2.5 blocks. That's awesome. I don't think he's leading the NBA. I think maybe someone like Miles Turner probably is because
Yeah.
Turner's been on a tear lately. But
And blocks are not indicative of being a great
right,
defender.
yeah. I mean, you look at someone like Dennis Rodman. He never averaged like this amount of blocks in a
Well,
season.
I mean, just take somebody last year like Hassan Whiteside.
Oh, yeah.
The guy would try and block like every shot,
Yep.
just like he did when he was younger. And it's not always the smartest thing to try and jump up and block a shot.
Yeah, I feel like Gobert, although he's much improved on switches on the perimeter and stuff, he's still not that great of a perimeter defender, especially when he's defending quicker guards.
Yeah, and I don't think he ever will be because I mean he's 7'1".
Yeah.
Like give this guy a break.
He's a big guy, okay? Like
The guy's trying to defend guys that run 440.
yeah, exactly. And everyone's kind of trashing him for it, but it's like most big men aren't good on switches. That's why you're trying to get them switched onto you in the first place. Like big men, when they're on a switch, they're just trying to not let the guy score, obviously, but it goes a lot deeper on like the fact that the big men are just they're trying to hold him and trying to get him to pass the ball so they can switch back. That's what they're doing the whole time.
Yeah. But I mean he's still a great rim protector. He's not the perimeter guy that AD or I guess even Bam a little bit are because
Bam's pretty mobile, and I mean he's not. I don't want to say tall for a center because he's still a tall guy, but he's shorter than Gobert.
Yeah, he's 4 inches shorter than him, and AD's 3 inches shorter. So just being a little smaller, having less weight on you, I mean that's going to make you better on the perimeter.
Yeah, definitely. It just all depends on what player he's guarding on the perimeter too. Because I mean, if he's like, we all see like Steph Curry torching him. Steph Curry's gonna torch anyone, dude.
Yeah.
That's just what he does.
And finally, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, I mean, he won the Defensive Player of the Year last year. I would have argued that AD should have won it, but I see why Giannis Antetokounmpo won it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great defender. He's on the best defensive team. Something to note this season, though, is his opponent's effective field goal isn't as good as I think it should be when he's on the court. Granted, they do have a weaker bench this year, and when Giannis isn't on the floor, they don't have like Robin Lopez coming off the bench.
Oh.
They have Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
So the rim protection isn't as good. It's kind of tough to tell thus far whether it's Giannis isn't as good at defending shots. Maybe it's the rest of the team around him. But his stats just don't look quite as good this year.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of the team as a whole, like you touched on with their bench being weaker and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The team as a whole just isn't what it was last year.
Yeah.
And of course, like you said, obviously him winning it last year, being part of the best defensive team, that's a big factor in who wins the award. Because like LeBron in, what was it, 2013 when Gasol won it? LeBron probably should have won it that year, but Gasol won it because he was the anchor on the best defensive team in the league. Yeah,
which I don't agree with some of the voting sometimes because, I mean, I know you're a Marc Gasol fan, but no
Grizzlies
offense.
fan, Marc Gasol fan, heck yeah.
He wasn't even on first team all defense.
No, he wasn't. I believe Dwight Howard was that year. So he probably shouldn't have won it, but I'm not going to complain that he won it.
But I mean, I can see people argue that Giannis probably could have won Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago when he didn't win. I think it was Gobert.
I think that was one of Gobert's too. Yeah.
But still, I mean, whether some people think they deserve it 1 year or the next or something, it really doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of these guys, their stats are so close that, like you said, it usually comes down to team defense.
Yep, whoever's the best defender on the best team, they have a good chance.
And you could argue that them being on that team makes them the best defensive team because other teams have to game plan around it. Maybe it gets them out of their comfort zone a little bit. That sometimes their stats aren't the best, but because they're game planning like around Giannis, that they're just not going to play as well already.
Right, and I mean, I think even two players we didn't put on here who I think are kind of dark horses, but they still have a chance are Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
They're both been just superb this year defensively.
I mean, we talked about it for a minute. I don't think either of those guys will win it this year. If they do, I think I'd be really surprised. Out of the two of them, I think Ben Simmons has the best chance because, I mean, we've seen wing players win Defensive Player of the Year awards in the past. Whether you want to call Draymond a wing player or not, I mean, he kind of sometimes
he can guard wings and stuff like that. Kawhi was obviously probably the biggest name in the past to win it.
And something that we were talking about the other day was Ron Artest winning it in 2003.
I think it was 3. Yeah.
So I mean, there's a history of defensive forwards winning it. Even though Ben Simmons is kind of a point guard, he still fits the same like body type as a wing.
Oh, of course.
And he's always defending the other team's best scorer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, since I think Ben's classified as a guard, he'd be the first guard in like 20 plus years to win the award because the last one was
Gary Payton.
So that'd be cool to see because guards, I don't think they get as much love defensively as bigs do and wings do.
Because they're generally not as good defensively.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's a big thing with them. So it'll be an interesting shakeout for the award. I do think AD's going to win it. I think he's the front runner, but we'll see.
So we want to thank you guys for watching. Drop a like, subscribe. We'd really appreciate it, and let us know what you guys think about it. I know I really wanted to do this because I think defensive players don't get enough love in the NBA.
Yeah, especially a modern league with all the points being put up, and you'll see like, player dropped 60 like Bradley Beal did last night, stuff like that. You don't see like a Miles Turner who has 8 blocks in some games.
Like that's insane. And we take historical stat lines like, he had 8 blocks in this game. It's like, okay, there's somebody did it now. Why aren't you talking about it?
Yeah, exactly. It's things like that, and they don't get the love they deserve. So we just wanted to put this video out there for them.
All right, so we want to thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.